So I've been seeing a lot of chatter about Funko Pops no longer really looking like Funko Pops in kind of today's age. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit today because it seems like a lot of people are maybe afraid of the change that Funko's kind of going into, making more detailed figures and just trying to compete with other brands out there, especially as prices increase and all that. So here's a couple examples of some Pops before and after. So here's a look at Dorothy, Jason Voorhees, and Queen Amidala. You can see before, super old Pops there. Some of these have like a 10 to 12 year difference here, maybe even more than that. And on the bottom is after, where they've had more details. Funko changed up the style, gave them more character, I would say. The molds are better, the poses are better. Take a look at this example with Tinkerbell here. You can see that the newer one is obviously leagues better. When you look at these, you're obviously going to want to buy the after Pop versus the before in this day. And another good example is Belle here. Now these Pops are actually only a couple years apart. We have Belle number 21. You can see that it just, like, it's a nice starter Pop, but then when you look at the after, you're like, oh my gosh, they added eyebrows. She has a pose to her. Her hands don't look so stiff. Her face and hair have more shape to them. And especially when you look at the dress, look how much more detail it has versus the original one. Again, just looking like a stiff mold. And not to say that I'm not a fan of the original Funko Pop looks and like the original kind of just like, it's really like this. It's like, basically. That's like one of the best ways to describe it, and I have plenty of older Pops in my collection that look like that. Like for example, this is one of my oldest Pops in my collection back from 2013, and you can see that pretty stiff Funko Pop style there, but I love this Pop. So again, I really don't have an issue with the older Pop style. There are some Pops that I would prefer to actually have versus some of the new ones, just because, again, I really like that older style look. It was what made Funko popular originally. However, I do think it gets to a point where you have to adapt and change as a company as you try to grow into newer audiences. And this whole video basically stems from a lot of people hating the new Phineas and Ferb Pops. And let's go ahead and take a look at those really quick. So we did get the new set on the left, which included Candace, Doof, as well as Vanessa, and then the original set was Agent Perry, Ferb, and Phineas. So why do people not like these Pops? Well, it's the molds themselves, as well as it seems to be mostly the faces for people, especially the eyes, because they don't have traditional Funko Pop eyes. Now, it was interesting that they chose to not do it with Vanessa because she has the traditional Funko Pop head, like that wider head shape that most Pops do have. They could have just given it the solid black eyes or just one solid color, and it maybe would have looked a little more normal. But this kind of goes into where specific characters need specific details is what I'm guessing here, because there's plenty of other examples that I can give you. Like, let's look at some of the new Marvel Rivals Pops. So for example, that Penny Parker especially, that's really hard to mold into a Pop and not make it look basic. They chose to go the extra detailed route and try to get every little detail from the game. And then Venom there, you can see they try to make him, given he's a very tall character, they try to make him look taller, especially in that slender mold, but it ended up looking a little weird because he is bulky and tall at the same time. So his head just looks super big in comparison to his body. And that's actually part of the reason why I don't like that Venom Pop. I think it just looks super like weird proportion wise. But I think the overall detail and the overall character is cool. Please, someone count down below how many times I say the word detail in this video. But yeah, guys, back to the Phineas and Ferb Pops. It seems like people just don't really like all the extra detail Funko is adding, especially in the eyes. I think it's because maybe it makes it look more realistic, but like I said, the argument comes into that Funko needs to adapt. They need to start changing up the molds to compete with other companies that are out there making better figures. But something else you can consider is that originally Funko was always the collectible that maybe wasn't the highest quality. Like, it's not a resin figure you're going to the company Funko for, but you get a decent looking figure of your favorite character for a low price. However, that's been changing in recent years. Funko has increased their prices a few times already in the last few years. So now we're sitting at $15 for your regular Pop, and then we have other categories like, you know, Pop Jumbo, which is a 10-inch, and then you have Pop Premiums, for example, which actually comes into this video. So go ahead and check out some Pop Premiums from the Pokemon line here. Like, these are incredible. Like, this is probably some of Funko's best work to date in the company's history. Charizard looks great, blowing fire all around his base stand. Blastoise jetting water and, you know, water kind of like splashing all around him. You have Venusaur with the vines and kind of the earth around him, grass, vines growing around him. And then Pikachu with the Electro Ball and lightning following it while he's in a running stance. Again, these are incredible looking pieces and they don't even really look like your traditional Funko Pops. Like most Funko Pops do not have this level of detail, and that's why they created a whole different category for them. And in my opinion, the Pop Premium category was to charge a little bit of a higher price so they could add extra details like these Pokemon ones to compete with other figures on the market. Because when you look at the comments most of the time of people who do not like Funko Pops, they're always complaining saying, oh, these are overpriced, like soulless looking figures. And you can get your average anime or like Marvel or whatever figure for, let's say, like $8 to $10 more. I don't know if that's being generous. I haven't looked at like Marvel Legends prices or, you know, like regular figures you'd find at like Box Lunch or Hot Topic of your favorite anime characters, like a Gojo figure, like a prize style figure, I suppose is the best way I could put it. So if you're paying $17 to $18 after tax, depending your state, and you can spend a little bit more money to get a nicer looking figure, most people are just going to do that. Now, I want to go over a couple more examples of how Pops have definitely gotten better over time, but the original ones still do have their charm, like these anime examples. So Luffy there, look at the difference in quality of these. Obviously the build itself has more character, especially in his body. You know, he's stretching out his mouth and he actually has a mouth there. He looks happy. They're capturing his characteristics that make him Monkey D. Luffy. Food in the hand because he's always eating. Goku down there, you can see the hair has a lot more detail waving in the wind. I try to find something that was like the best comparison here, given they're two different moments, obviously. Kurama there, I feel like most people would rather buy the deluxe of him actually doing something. You can see more fluff in the fur. He has the mouth expression, teeth there, tongue, like there's so much great detail here. And even Doflamingo on the bottom. The original Pop actually still kind of holds up when you compare them side by side, but then you look at the newer one, he's using his devil fruit. He has a rock base. He has veins going through the forehead showing that devilish smile. Like that captures Doflamingo better than the original one does. Like truly, Funko has made wacky Pops over the years. Some Pops that don't look like Pops at all, like these Simpsons ones, for example. Like check out these Treehouse of Horror ones. You have the Spider Willy there holding Bart Simpson. You have Lisa as a snail. It does have the bigger, you know, Funko Pop head there, but then the eyes coming out of it, which just makes it just not look like a Funko Pop. And then Homer Simpson as a Jack-in-the-Box. It's incredible what they've been able to do here. And another example I want to give you guys is with some of the recent Pops in the last few years that haven't necessarily looked like Pops either. Like we have the new Toy Story 5 ones. Like look at the lily pad. It's basically just a square of a screen, essentially, and it's super thin. Like, how's that even gonna look at a box, you know? And then we have the Towelly there, which has the triangle smile on the face, and it's literally a towel with eyes on it. Like, I feel like there's another argument to be made there is that if they just stuck to the traditional Funko Pop style for every single character, some character molds like these would look weird, and it's good that they're adapting and changing and able to make other characters with the Funko Pop name because you want these characters, but sometimes it just doesn't fit in that traditional style. I mean, let's be so for real. Look at the Pop Foodies line, guys. We have Kool-Aid packet Pops. We have Hostess Donut Pops, a Moon Pie, Slurpees, Hershey Kisses, boxes of cereal with arms and legs, which I always thought this line was a little silly and didn't need to be made, but people like it. Like, people are actually buying these somehow. I don't know why, but you know, I don't see my favorite brand, or if I want a Slurpee or a Coca-Cola, I just don't see myself needing that as like a figure. So it's always been interesting to me that people find that interesting, but that's part of Funko. Like they make something for everybody, even if the audience is maybe small, I suppose. Though I do feel like in recent years that's gotten them in more trouble financially than it's actually been worth, but that's a different conversation. So I do want to give another example of something that's just so funny is that the Finding Nemo Pops. Like look at Nemo and look at Dory, Crush and Bruce, like especially Dory. That is a very haunting looking Pop. Like imagine you go from looking at Hollow Purple Gojo here, the deluxe, this thing looks incredible, and then you look back at Dory, and then you're like, this is what Funko Pops used to look like. And no hate to the Dory, again, it has its charm, but obviously today they could do that Dory much better. Though of course, every once in a while, Funko does make some interesting choices, like these horror doodle Pops here that nobody necessarily asked for. You know, they look like Funko Pops, but not at the same time, and they have their charm, but I don't know how well something like this would sell, because people would just rather have their favorite horror icons or other horror icons. Like, this literally looks like it's for kids, but I mean, who's really buying this for their kids, you know? I don't know. Those are just my thoughts on it. I think it's good that Funko's been changing. I think it's nice to adapt and switch things up, because I think if they stayed the course with how the original designs looked and never got better, they would not be alive as a company today. Like, genuinely, I feel that way, because people's tastes change. You can't just rely on the same audience forever. And that's the exact reason why they've been trying all kinds of different products over the years, trying to branch off into new audiences around the world, because everybody likes something different. Now, I'm not saying Funko should completely, you know, turn their back to what made them popular in the first place, that derpy looking, like, very simple Funko Pop figure look. It's what made them popular. It's what they still do today. But every once in a while, they kind of just try to raise the bar and really go all out with the figures, and I think that's a really good thing. So those are my thoughts and opinions on the topic of Funko Pops kind of no longer looking like Funko Pops, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Let me know what you guys think, though. Do you like the direction Funko's going, making things look a little more realistic, having a lot more details like other figures out there? Or do you just prefer the simple looking Funko Pops, not with all the extra extravagant details? I really think it just gives them more character. Adding extra detail is not a bad thing, in my opinion, unless it just looks super weird. And I can see how people would feel weird about the new Phineas and Ferb Pops, because the realistic details can look haunting, especially on Phineas and Doof. Like, those are interesting looking ones. But again, you know, it's your favorite characters. They're trying to go in a newer, broader direction, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But again, let me know what you think. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy my thoughts and opinions on this topic, drop that comment down below, as well as leave a like. I am going to end out the video here, though, by saying a big shout out to all the awesome Patreon supporters of the channel. You guys are amazing for supporting myself and the channel. If you guys are interested and want to check out the Patreon, the link is down below. We have a Patreon Discord where we share a lot of information, news, restocks, updates, links, and more. And finally, make sure you follow me on all my social medias at Skittlerampage over on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and my Facebook page, so you can stay up to date. All right, love you guys. See you guys in the next one. See you guys later. Bye.